I can't believe it's so exciting that AGCTV has put on this event, guys. Like, I just think it's really cool. Like, we have just such awesome players, like a really cool like invitational format, on a new game, right? So there's a lot of like unknowns regarding how this would play, but so far I've been so impressed by the games, Lidakor. I think the players are playing at a pretty high level, given the game is brand new and everyone's still adapting. And I love that we're kind of discovering metas as we go. It's just been such a fun experience.
For sure. In the meantime, huge shout out goes to Aussie Drongo for the raid, dropping off the people from Outback Octagon. I guess this warrants a bit of a TLDR on what you are about to see over here. This is Dawn of Ages, which is played on the brand new Age of Empires 2 DLC, Return to Rome. Basically, what you can witness here is Age of Empires 1, played in the Age of Empires 2 engine. So, if you're in for some old school Age of Empires, this is your place to stay.
Yeah, we've got some really cool players as well. These are some of the best AoE1 players in the past couple of years who have just excelled in all of the tournaments in AoE1. So it's really exciting to see this new format, this new game mode. There's a bunch of like new mechanics that the players are adapting to. So we're seeing lots of new ideas coming forth in these tournament games. And so we're already onto our semifinals. This is our second semifinal of the day. After this, we're going to jump right into the finals. So you guys have joined at the perfect time to watch some crazy games coming up. And this is game one in this second set. We have TaToH versus CooL. Oh man, two legends of AoE1 at this point. TaToH has played several DE tournaments and did very well, surprisingly well, given the fact that he had much less experience in AoE1, right? But CooL has just been dominating the scene for so long. He's been the number one player, pretty much undisputed for quite a while now. He's won a lot of tournaments, many against TaToH, so this is kind of like a final in a semifinal already. So we've got some crazy games. And welcome everybody, and again, thank you, Drongo, for the amazing raid. Awesome stuff. I hope Outback Octagon was fun. That tournament is also very exciting.
Indeed, this weekend is just saturated with crazy Age of Empires content, and here we are. As you said, second semifinals, followed right after by the grand finals. And this game, in case you don't know, is extremely high tempo when you take a look at competitive games. We are talking about games that finish in sub 20 minutes most of the time. A lot of aggression going on. Very high intensity games once you get to Dual Age.
Yeah, things are going to heat up fast in this game one. We're still in the Stone Age, which is the first age of the game, and players are quickly going to be aging. I think we're mere moments away. Usually, you age up around 20 villagers. It could be shorter than that, or it could be a little less than that. It can be a little more than that, depending on the strategy. But this is a very open map we're playing in right now, so blood is going to be coming, and blood is going to be coming fast. Not exactly sure what strats we're going to see yet, but we do have forward villagers from both players now coming across the map. CooL moving south, he's in the red pieces, and TaToH moving north with his vill. So we're going to see some proxy buildings pretty soon, likely a barracks planted in the middle for both. And then the follow-up is really what we're excited to see. Is it full in axes? Do you add the range? Do you just go full scouts? That's what we're really curious about here.
Indeed, TaToH does have the Macedonians, which gives him extra line of sight on those villagers. Makes it much easier to acquire the target when it comes to placing that forward base. Looks like he's going the wrong direction, though. Even the extra line of sight doesn't help him locate the base of CooL. On the other side, CooL kind of doing the same thing, very reminiscent of the TaToH versus Kyo series that we have seen on this map. Neither of the players were able to find their opponent's base right away.
This is spicy, as TaToH does move north into the right direction, and CooL continues to move to the left in the wrong direction, and here it is, TaToH's barracks really offensively placed. That's a beautiful spot for it to be. The timing is just about perfect. It'll finish, he'll be able to train a clubman, and then decide where he goes from there. Is it going to be ranges, stables, a second barracks? Oh man, there's so many possibilities here. I just, the meta, I love it. I love that there is no meta.
He couldn't find the opponent. He's going back home, actually, at this point. Barracks now coming up just now for him. First Clubman already on the way for TaToH. And this could be a disaster for CooL. The Clubman can stop that Barracks quite potentially. Here comes the Clubman. Will try to push away the villagers. Two villagers building it. Barracks will complete here for CooL, but there is a follow-up already for TaToH. That's just a granary for the time being. Was definitely looking like an archer range for a brief moment. Was hoping for one. It's just gonna be a granary for that forward build.
Yeah, that granary is questionable. He's giving CooL so much time to set up his defense. He knows the rush is here, and we're gonna see some small walls on his food here. On his wood. He's even got a shorefish along his wood line, so he's gonna be even okay for a little bit. Oh, but the clubman does stand there. Really good micro from TaToH, blocking off this wall position. CooL leads him out. What a bait and switch. Gets the wall up, so his wood line will be safe for now, but 3 villagers under pressure. Gonna have to find some short safety in the TC. Notably, in Return of Rome, your villagers in the town center do not give you arrows. You don't get garrison arrows like in AoE4, so you have to find a way to defend those units. It's just idle time, right? You're just there for safety, and the bowman already out for CooL. But with 2 Axers hot in pursuit, it's hard to make use of that range.
Indeed, it is difficult. And getting new units out is also a challenge right now for CooL. His villagers have been idle for so long. He's got the second bowman out. TaToH yet to go for a single slinger. Instead, he goes for his own bowman. But right now, he's the one doing eco damage on his opponent. Whereas back at home, he's all nice and safe.
Yeah, CooL pulling out of his rush because he couldn't find the opponent means that he's going to be forced to defend perfectly, otherwise he's going to fall behind. TaToH's macro behind this has been pretty clean. He already has the range for defense if Axeman or a melee unit shows up, so he can easily defend his walls. And now CooL's just trying to be super slippery here. He's managed to keep most of his vills alive. The kills for TaToH haven't really come in the way we would expect with a really good rush position like this, so excited to see how CooL can develop this as some Axemen potentially finding value here.
Yeah, stopping the forward building out there. Bowman also shutting down the lumberjacks. CooL is slowly walling up the right side. So now the surface that TaToH can attack is going to be on the left side. Walls are coming up nice and slow for CooL. But still a lot of openings on the northern side. CooL is building up a mass of bowmen though, and TaToH is yet to drop a stable to respond to that with.
Yeah, he's building his own bowman, right? He's not going for slingers. He's not going for scouts. Right now, he's just focused on the bowman. And it looks like CooL has defended this rush very effectively. This has been one of the more impressive defenses we've seen in this entire tournament. CooL, a mastermind for that defense generally. But as I say that, Caster's Curse, 2 vills go down. The wall wasn't done yet. And he doesn't really have bowman in defense. And TaToH's running right for those berries. He scouted them earlier with the Axeman. And now CooL on the run here. 3rd vill goes down. Wow, I should not have said that.
Yeah, significant casualties on the side of CooL here. He's going to trade these bowmen off now, but a lot of idle time forced on him. As you said, walls were incomplete when those archers arrived, and now all the bowmen has to be pulled to the right side here for CooL, allowing TaToH once again to come back on the left side. Axeman to support this one. He's intercepting the villagers trying to finish the walls. He's going to be rewarded with a couple more. And the villager lead is slowly increasing in the favor of TaToH, while back at home, he is still completely untouched.
Yeah, he's just taking map control. He's taking I think he's even taking neutral resources. I think he's taking berries in the center of the map and stuff like that. Like, things are looking pretty comfortable for him in terms of, like, what he's able to do and how flexible he can be on the map right now. And CooL, I guess at this point, just needs to be focused on defending as best as he can, stop the bleeding, and then think about how he's going to counterattack and how that's going to be effective.
Now, good news for CooL here is that despite losing all those villagers, the villager count is still even, so TaToH had to sacrifice some of his own villager production to supplement this aggression. And now things are stabilizing. Looks like we could be in for a very long game, at least for AoE 1 standards over here. Both players fully walled back at home, with minimal chance of TaToH now doing damage.
And here comes CooL with a big army. That's a lot of bowmen, and his vills are spread on the map. TaToH gonna have to defend this one pretty carefully. I think there's still a hole there to the south of that stone mine. Maybe not, actually. Really tricky, though. TaToH's gonna have to defend, otherwise he's gonna have to idle a lot of villagers he's put in the middle of the map because CooL is coming. Slingers go in the front. They have that pierce armor and the bonus damage, so you kind of want them to soak up the fire of those bowmen.
Indeed. Now, in this game, the arrows do miss if they are shooting at a moving target from a distance. So there's a lot more micro involved here in these early archer battles. This is something that we just kind of throw in as a reminder to the AoE 4 folks. It is the legacy mechanic, I guess, and this is one of the big differences between AoE 4 and the other Age titles. Arrows missing is a big thing. This time around, though, TaToH is going to get cleaned up here by the archers of CooL, even with the slingers being there. TaToH repelled, and now CooL is going to be fully walled. What does TaToH do from this point?
I don't know. His economy doesn't look super hot. He's now down 5 vills. CooL's just played so sharp, and this is a big, massive ranged units, and now the scouts have been shown, so TaToH's going to need a response here. CooL making that transition kind of sneakily in the back, but he did show the hand a bit early, maybe, because now that's going to give time for TaToH to add some axemen to his army, but not doing so yet. Still producing those slingers, going to be relying on the bowmen for now, but if that scout count gets to, I don't know, 5 or 6, we could see a very decisive fight in the near future.
CooL is a little lone available wood on the top of that hill, so one thing that TaToH could play around is harassing these lumberjacks on the front, but behind this one, CooL is now going into Bronze Age. Will lose a couple of villagers here on the front line, but once he gets to the Bronze Age, he's going to have cavalry out, which is going to just shred all these archers. Also loops around with a couple of archers himself. TaToH is walled back at home, but he's got a large detachment of villagers in the middle of the map chopping wood. If that's the target for CooL, he could inflict heavy casualties on TaToH's eco.
Yeah, you can see CooL's micro there on the villagers, super solid, dodging these bowman shots and able to get almost another full layer of walls. So it's going to be really hard during this bronze transition for TaToH to do any damage. And I don't think TaToH's particularly close to bronze himself, which could be a problem for him if these bowmen get to his base and he doesn't really have a solid defense plan for it. As now these bowmen about halfway through that wall, but there's a whole nother layer to go, and CooL is going to immediately have 2 or 3 cavalry out. The gold mines already being worked, and towers in the middle now for TaToH.
You can actually garrison those towers with the villagers. That's not a thing that you could do in OG AoE 1. So it's going to make it much more difficult for CooL to inflict a lot of damage on those lumberjacks in the middle, especially with the archers. Although once cavalry comes in, that's a different story.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, the cavalry should be able to defend, but TaToH not even close still to the click-up, still full in on the tool age, and he's going to be in trouble soon if CooL is able to get that counterattack going. For the time being, this small wall going to be taken down, and the cavalry from CooL going to be the first line of defense. He's got 2 on the board, some scouts to soak some damage, but that's a big tool army, and he's got the hill as well. Going to take a great trade against the early cavalry here, and did CooL potentially take a fight too soon? He's going to have to retreat from this, and this is a large bowman mass. Meanwhile, CooL's attack, able to kill a vill or 2, but nothing substantial there, as he's going to lose even more units, and the bowman just coming in, going to deny the gold, and if these cavalry can't make short work of these bowmen fast, things could be looking really bad for CooL. Did he go bronze too soon?
Yeah, he's being pushed away from the gold mine, meaning it's going to be very difficult to just continue producing those cavalry units. Looks like he's got a bank big enough to continue producing a couple more, though, and that's going to be a lifesaver right now. He needs to clean up these bowmen. It's a pretty substantial force inside his eco. Needs to wait for a couple more cavalry units to arrive. Right now, the newly spawned cavalry could be intercepted by the bowman. His access to gold being cut off, farms being shut down as well, but he's going to relocate to the left side. He's going to have a second town center coming up on the gold as well. And once he gets to like 6-7 cavalry, he can deal with all those bowmen. TaToH's window is somewhat shrinking over here with those Castle Age, or Bronze Age units rather, coming out.
Yeah, and CooL's just been so on top of this defense. It's been really tricky, but seriously, not too much, and he even got a sneaky wall tile up, so these bowmen are trapped for the time being. The trap is here. What a play by CooL. This was honestly very impressive, and now he's got enough, I think, to clean this mass up, although TaToH takes that cheeky spot. This isn't really something you could do in AoE 1 Classic, so the units honestly aren't particularly well balanced to handle this situation. They're more expected to have greater surface area in a lot of situations, so this sort of stacking with patrol into a 1-tile gap is a very common AoE 2 tactic, but not something you see in AoE 1 generally, so nice use of that mechanic there by TaToH. As CooL's already on TCs though, like he's kind of pretty comfortable with this pressure, it seems.
For sure he is. He is right now up by just a villager, but as you said, once those archers are cleaned up, it's a different story. Still, TaToH has that positional advantage, having that nice little gap to fill the archers with. and then it just makes it much more difficult for those cavalry to really get good engagements. Eventually they are getting cleaned up, so TaToH needs to find a way up to Bronze Age, but he's buying himself a lot of valuable time over here. Finally, the archers do get cleaned up inside the walls, Axeman also getting picked off. TaToH, he really needs to get to Bronze Age right now.
Yeah, this has definitely been a strong rush from TaToH, all in, but honestly just a masterful defense. And with no Bronze Age coming in for TaToH, it feels hard to see a path forward for him now. These raids are just going to pick up. CooL's also booming heavily behind all this pressure, so he doesn't seem too perturbed by the fact that there's a couple Bowman and Axemen running around anymore. Their window of effectiveness has, like, basically disappeared. I mean, maybe he can break in again and deal a lot of damage, but TaToH still relying on a house wall here. With Macedonians, they have a new bonus where the house walls have extra HP, so it's kind of nice, but I don't think it's going to be enough here. He's going to have to maybe retreat with all these villagers, as some stone walls behind it will be the play.
He's going to get those walls going. Still far away from Bronze Age, though. Now CooL with an 11 villagers lead, but this wall is being broken through. Not much back at home to defend with, and this is valuable time that TaToH is buying himself to get to Castle Age. And look at the value here. Villagers fleeing for their lives, as a couple of composite bowmen will try to slow this down, but this is turning into a massacre over here. Villagers just running away with that wheel on them. Still, though, a lot of damage done on the eco here. Villagers getting picked off, villagers being idled as well. TaToH is buying a lot of time with that ToOH Age army.
Yeah, and these tool units with that additional bonus damage now versus cavalry on the Axemen, actually able to protect this many units. I mean, it's definitely cost efficient for these cavalry to kill 4 or 5 Axemen, but that's looking pretty good now for TaToH. This position, he's completely idled the food economy, meanwhile able to hold with the walls at home. I'm not sure if this is going to be enough, though. CooL's position is still so good. He's still up 10 villagers. But he's losing them fast. His defense here wasn't really accurate, and oh man, TaToH
losing them very fast, actually. For a player that has been up by 2 town centers, he's only up by 8 villagers, which is as good as it gets for TaToH. Plus a lot of idle time as well. These villagers had to flee for a long, long time. And look at this position in the middle. If TaToH just gets 1 or 2 units in there, like let's say a hoplite or so, could easily start shredding those villagers as well. Buys a lot of time with these bowmen once again. Looks like he's going to play cavalry himself. And with how spread out the eco from CooL is, this could do a lot of damage in the next few minutes.
Yeah, something really interesting is like this whole central economy, this economy that TaToH built up in the middle of the map, never got raided or attacked. CooL is still completely focused on this pressure at the TC, not really realizing that the majority of the economy is wide open in the center of the map, could have been attacked, and now CooL migrating with all of his villagers. I thought his position was really good, but he could potentially be throwing a bit. It looks like TaToH is slightly aware of this migration, and if he sends his calves south and finds them, things could get dicey fast for him. But CooL looks like he's just about cleaned up the pressure in his base now, which means he should be able to reboom onto those farms.
Yeah, TaToH is going to clean up the cavalry threatening his base. And I think he's got eyes on the villagers down south. Yeah, you have some blue dots moving all the way down to that large red cluster. TaToH is going to find those villagers down there, and with the cavalry available, he can start massacring all of them. Indeed, it's just a couple of axemen for the time being, but soon a couple of cavalry units will follow, and in that case, he can cut into that eco advantage that CooL has right now.
Yeah, and there's literally skirmishes going on everywhere as both players are playing at an absurd peak. If you guys have ever watched AoE 1, it's actually really crazy how fast you have to be. I would say it's one of the games in the Age series where you need the most APM to just not die, right? Like in all the other Age games, there's always ways to have skill expression and like better APM is really good. But in AoE 1, if your APM slacks for like 2 minutes, you're just gonna lose. You're just gonna bleed villagers in a way that feels really bad, and you just start to suffer. And so you have to be on point the whole time. It's extremely exhausting, and this is a long series. This is game 1 in a best of 7, and we're already 30 minutes into the first game. And this is an open map. In all the other sets so far in this small tournament, we've seen just like really fast and aggressive games. But here, CooL able to defend, able to hold, and still with a slight score lead, still with 10 more vills than TaToH. Oh my gosh, this has just been incredible to watch.
It is. We have a camo switch now coming in here from CooL as a response to the cavalry coming from TaToH. TaToH is still yet to clean up these small pockets of economy, and this is where it could get really dicey for TaToH. A large group of composite bowmen now coming in from CooL, supported by some camos. Not a unit composition that TaToH has an answer to.
Yeah, cavalry just not going to do well here. If you have enough cavalry, it can work against compies, but with the camels to kind of frontline and tank a lot of the damage, meanwhile dishing out a decent amount to the cavalry themselves, it's a really good response. Now, TaToH, as Macedonians, will need to leverage the hoplite here. If he recognizes that or not, I'm not sure. Looks like he's going to opt for composite bowman of his own, but the hoplite would kind of be the unit of choice. With Mace, they have extra pierce armor, which means that they would fight super well against both the camel and the compy, which would mean it's kind of the unit of choice in my book, but it's been tricky to get into that, and also this map has been very open, so you don't really want to tech into that very slow, tanky unit. As now both players going to be meeting in the middle. The camel's taking a good engagement against the cavalry, but that's too many, and TaToH potentially getting a trap there, but no, he's just going to run deeper with the camels. TaToH almost has composite bowman of his own, but that's a lot from CooL right behind this attack.
That's a lot. It's 43 army against just 29. Good distraction by CooL pulling those forces to the south. Composite bowman now moving in. Likely a siege workshop being placed at the top of that hill as TaToH is going to slowly clean up these camos. Mostly just a diversion right now by CooL. TaToH definitely became the defender the last few minutes. He's not really able to threaten these little pockets of economy from CooL as he's distracted by all this aggression with the camos, the composite bowman. But then again, that's a scary force of cavalry, and as you said, TaToH is building up his own mass of composite bowmen as well.
Yeah, and what's really good is he's built a couple of these towers. Now, they're still just watchtowers, but if he had upgraded those to sentry towers, they're really, really good at defending against compies, because compies are very, low HP. So anything that can just deal damage to them is solid, right? And watchtowers take very little damage from the compies and take a long time to die, and then also dish out a lot of damage. So these sentry towers being spread around is going to be how TaToH defends against these compy raids. Now the camels might be able to outrun some of the shots and stuff, but still CooL's composition looking a little bit questionable now. Fully focused on camel compy is a bit rough here, but so far able to stay aggressive. Axeman still on the map on this left side as players are sharing wood over there, but simply can't expend the units to fight over there. And CooL, look at this Lidakor. Massive army in the center.
It is. His eco is also much stronger now. He's up by 30 villagers. TaToH wasn't able to take down these little pockets. And behind this, CooL was on multiple town centers for so long. Now it's starting to show on the playing field as well. Big mass of camels building up. Big mass of composite bowmen, and if you look at the top right, the unit queues, big difference between the two. TaToH isn't really pumping out any units right now.
Yeah, this is great here for TaToH, but he's housed. But yeah, CooL's hitting that pop cap a little bit faster with the camels. Not going to be good against all these compies, but behind this attack, there's a stone thrower or two slowly doinking the sentry tower. You can see it's burning, and it will fall very shortly. So a tough defense moving forward here for TaToH as CooL's army just looks a little bit scarier. Wait, hold on. That's a lot of cav.
Yeah, that's a lot of cavalry supported by the composite bowman. Stone thrower will be picked off. And now the composite bowman from TaToH will be moving in. Stone thrower trying to get a shot. Staggered formation now coming in from TaToH. He's still fighting up hills over here, slowly picking off the camels, but gets a good surround on all those composite bowmen. Still, most of his cavalry evaporates as the camels arrive, and this is an even fight at best for TaToH. He might need to pull back over here. Looks like he's going to try and stay on the hill. Bit of a micro hill advantage might actually win this for him.
Wow, TaToH took a terrible fight. That did not work for him at all. He went
I jinxed him so badly there.
Yeah, no, the CooL was sitting there with 50 compies, and TaToH took the engagement way too early. The camels came in and swooped from the front and just kind of prevented the cav from getting the surround on the compies. And TaToH's compies were nowhere to be found. He was out of position. He just took the fight too soon. He wasn't ready for the engagement when he took it. And wow, CooL wiped that fight. And honestly, I don't think that game was over if that fight goes the other way, right? I think this game really hinged on how effective that fight was because TaToH simply couldn't really remax behind that. His economy had been a bit under pressure, but if he bought himself a bunch of time, he would have been able to reorganize, reestablish himself, and maybe even start setting up some more like late game wall structures where you're trying to like just wall off huge swaths of the map so these raids stop coming through. And my gosh, that was a crazy game. TaToH's all in Tool Age. I really didn't think it would work, but it bought him a lot of time, right, Lida?
For sure it did. And for a long, long time, he was able to keep the villager numbers very close. Even being late to the Bronze Age by 8 or so minutes, he was just down by 3, 4, 5 villagers. That mid-game part of that Bronze Age is what really was a little shaky for him. As he made that transition to the cavalry, he started falling behind in eco, and I think critically, he wasn't able to use that cavalry to just destroy those small eco pockets that CooL has had all across the map. Those lived, and those slowly contributed to a much larger army being built.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest issues for TaToH in my book was it didn't feel like he was using any of his military bonuses in the mid game, right? Like we briefly talked about it, but like hoplites with the Pierce armor could have maybe been the way to take an engagement against some of those units, right? The hoplites will just dunk the camels. The camels shouldn't even go close to hoplites in an engagement. And then with that extra Pierce armor that you can get on Mace, you'd be able to use the compies. You'd be able to like tank a lot of the damage from the compies. You saw the cav just melted, right? With that many, it's like in AoE2 having like 50 arbalists or like in AoE4 having 60 hand cannons shooting at like 20 knights, right? Like it just doesn't there's a point where that mass is just there, and yeah, TaToH really didn't have like a solid enough answer to that. And that's crazy because that was only game 1 in this best of 7. So if you just tuned in, welcome. we got some more to say. You know, yeet.
Rogan?
Interestingly
Alright.
shaped landmass that we have over there kind of looks like, I don't know, maybe the palm of a cat or a dog or something like that, or a claw maybe.
It's like you're reading tea leaves.
Yeah, look at this shape. It's so unnatural on Nomad to have this little peninsula kind of sandwiched in between 2 additional peninsulas. Usually it's either like a U shape or just one big landmass with basically no base. Not a common sight to see on Nomad generations.
Yeah, I mean, this Nomad obviously going to be a little bit different. I think it's a little bit more randomness to it. But yeah, this is really interesting stuff already. The TC positions are about as far away as you could realistically expect to get. So pretty good for both players, I would say. The docks are on the same like edge of the water, but that's still quite far. So that early scout ship going to be important, but not like your docks are dueling docks where they can see each other and stuff like that. Man, so I like TaToH's, I like CooL's TC a lot, actually. I think somebody in chat just said that too. I was just reading, I was like, I really like CooL's TC. He's got a really interesting way to wall later. He's got multiple ways to wall if he needs to. TaToH's base is a lot more exposed, so defending from a rush is going to be really tricky, but I think he has better resources available directly around his TC with the Gazelle already there. He's got the elephant really close and the berries available, but the food not the most important resource when you have fish, so we'll see how these these Stone Ages pan out, right? There's a lot to kind of figure out.
Yeah, docks are both on the eastern side, actually the western side of the map rather. For TaToH, it's right at the bottom, and in the far left, we're going to have it for CooL. So not a long distance to cover between those docks, not something that we've seen in every Nomad matchup. In fact, most of the time, we have those docks on opposing sides of the map. So I guess the big question I have for you right now is, how does the close presence of the docks affect this game? How different would a Carthaginian mirror be on this map if the docks were further apart?
Well, if the docks were on like the left and right corner, I don't think it would really change too much, because all it would mean is that in order to attack, like, you're gonna have to have like 3 scout ships before you really like can guarantee you'll do meaningful damage if players are playing the same exact build order. The thing about Nomad right now is I think that there is no like very clear meta on how the build order should look. So I think we're just gonna have kind of a crazy a crazy early tool age. Like I feel like there's no like real prediction you can have that's accurate beyond the players are gonna make units and fight with them, right? Like I don't see how you can predict like, oh, the timing on the rush is gonna be a little bit different, right? It's just too chaotic. I think all the Nomad games we've seen so far have just been about execution and like not making a blunder more than like, oh, this positioning really mattered, right? We saw, for example, DauT just like not getting the wall up in time, for example, or we saw Saymyname doing a really crazy strategy, or Kyo did, right, and it not working out. So excited to see how these players play it. I think this looks very similar, but CooL has a 5-vil lead already, so definitely investing more into the fish, or his build order was cleaner in terms of not idling the TC, but TaToH getting a much faster H-up potentially here. So a bit of a different approach, actually.
Indeed it is. TaToH just trying to go for a tool age. Also notably, he's got a BearX out already, and he's coming in with the Clubman. Not something that CooL has just yet. CooL is pushing a villager to the front as well, but he's yet to build anything. And on the other side, look at that. TaToH knows exactly where his opponent is at, so that Clubman could be hitting jackpot. Where is he, actually? Where is the Clubman? Clubman? Mr. Clubman? Okay, there he comes. Might actually be able to stop this DauT even.
Yeah, he's gonna put some pressure on. I think the DauTs usually take a really long time to build, but I think... Oh! Yeah, he's gonna get some pressure on, and I think CooL will just force click this. Maybe not. He might lose a vil for this.
Yeah, that DauT isn't going to be finished. He's going to pull 2 more, pulling away the Clubman, but at the very least, there is a lot of delay over here, and don't forget, no tool age just yet for CooL, so he won't be able to drop any of the walls. He's gonna have to wall with what I think are storage pits, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure what he built there. We don't really have the same like indicator as to what's going up, but I would assume barracks.
Yeah, probably barracks. Double racks actually coming in.
Yeah, there's no reason to build a storage pit there when the barracks cost the same. So, or
yeah,
like
true.
5 would more. It's just 5 would more, but like whatever. Right.
Yeah, I was just coming out from that AoE 2 mindset that sometimes you just drop your whatever building you can find type of an approach just so that you get a wall up. But yeah, makes sense to build barracks out there. It's gonna have double docks on the northern side as well. TaToH being first to tool age though, he's going to have that ability to pressure on water. And look at CooL. He has docks everywhere.
Yeah, he's really prepared. The dock block is a really smart play because he can wall out these axemen before he needs the wall upgrade, and so he can kind of delay the wall upgrade if he wants. Meanwhile, TaToH going for a much slower full wall approach, but CooL was much greedier in the Stone Age, right? So TaToH has this time to kind of build up, but he didn't really know that, so kind of a risk that you might not need to take. Meanwhile, TaToH with that scout ship right there outside of CooL's economy, but CooL will be running, I think, soon to his base with all those fishing boats.
Yeah, TaToH wasn't active with that scout ship at the beginning, so he missed an opportunity to pressure these fishing boats a little sooner, but still pushes them away quite swiftly, sinks one, idles the rest, and as you said, back at home, he seems like he's fully walled, although some of those red dots might just be foundations. A couple of clubmen, now axemen, looping around, and it looks like they will not find an entrance into TaToH's base. Eco is dead even, but don't forget, CooL has to flee with those fishing boats, so that's definitely a big burden on his economy.
Yeah, and we'll see how TaToH responds to the attack now at his walls, because we've seen a lot of these AoE 2 players that aren't as familiar with AoE 1 maybe rely on house walls a little too long. You can see CooL did not mess around. He immediately walled behind his house wall. He knows that it's flimsy, and here comes TaToH once again, already walling behind it as well. So no slouch there, didn't get surprised by these axemen dealing too much damage, is able to defend very quickly. Meanwhile, the scout ships for CooL are going to be able to defend his docks and his walls there. So I really like CooL's position here. He's walled in really tight, it's really clean, and as long as he holds the water, he'll be okay. Meanwhile, TaToH not as guaranteed to be able to hold on the land if he wins the water, because there's kind of these open areas in the center that CooL could exploit.
So far, peaceful game. Now that we've reached that stalemate with the walls up for both players. Both of them starting to add some eco upgrades behind this one. Safe fishing now guaranteed for CooL over here. TaToH also has safe fish on the left side, but most of the water that's available is under the control of CooL right now. So long term, his fishing eco looks a lot better than what TaToH will have.
Yeah, it's going to be up to these naval engagements, right? I think that's going to be the primary focus for these players. The fish boom is going to be the easiest thing to attack and the hardest thing to protect. So big navy is going to be critical, and it looks like CooL's looping around with a bunch of scout ships, maybe ready to take an engagement here. He's just kind of sitting right outside, just waiting maybe for another unit or two. Spicy stuff. Meanwhile, big army of axemen for CooL as well. Moving in.
Supported by some slingers. That's a big thing. We'll have something to deal with those bowmen. Still nice micro by TaToH, focusing down some of those axemen. Only 3 bowmen though. Wars complete has to be cautious not to over chop this. You see he's chopping a tree that's kind of part of the wall. On the northern side though, a bit of a fight taken. TaToH is going to push back CooL, but he himself calls back his own forces. We'll slowly pick apart most of these axemen as the slingers are trying to get the snipes in. But neither of the players are accomplishing much, neither on the water nor the land.
Well, there is actually an overchop on TaToH's walls. I think he'll see that pretty soon. But those axemen could have maybe gotten in there. Would have been scary.
Yeah, now he's overchopped. He's got to be cautious. He's gonna have to be careful, very careful actually. I think CooL sees that, so would not be surprised to see him try and commit against that. TaToH swift to react, drops a house.
Yeah, this is looking good for TaToH, actually. He's got a bigger investment in sea as well, so over the next, minute, I think he's going to have more ships than CooL. Because CooL keeps adding in some more fishing boats in between trying to be greedy, but TaToH is really building up this mass of units, and now this house being pressured. I don't think TaToH has enough stone to defend this, maybe? No, we see he has enough, so just trying to be greedy, to rely on the defenses. The axemen in the back take down the slingers, so the villagers should be able to hold here. Actually, TaToH gets in, CooL gets in, but, I mean, it's a bunch of bowmen. There's not really a lot that you can do with just axemen now, and TaToH with a nice defense and a big fight on the sea.
That's a lovely raid. Scout ships are there for CooL. Still quite a few fishing boats getting caught in the crossfire. TaToH nice micro as well as CooL was distracted with the fight on land, and now that CooL is calling off his forces, TaToH could just shift south and sink all those fishing boats, possibly pressure these villagers on the wood line. CooL has to take this fight and he knows that, but he's outnumbered 7-1. And TaToH can stop at any point to start slaying the eco of his opponent. That's exactly what he's doing right now. Traffic jam, making it very difficult for the villagers to flee. And TaToH getting more and more confident over here, gaining some ground on the land and gaining some ground on the water as well.
Yeah, and now forcing the repair vills to come out. These are also snipeable. TaToH will do so. Another vill going down. Long-term, this economy loss will be meaningful for CooL. If TaToH's able to maintain this 5-vill lead and not lose the water now, things should be looking very good for him. Meanwhile, he's coming in on the front, taking down some of these slingers, but CooL with the units, I feel like can hold this. Well, actually, those slingers gonna get put back up against the wall, but there's a lot of axemen here. Oh boy, Lidakor, TaToH looking deadly right now, dare I say?
Yeah, this is looking better and better for TaToH. Managed to pick off quite a few fishing boats and villagers. Now he's got an eco lead of 6. And there is a small cluster of what I assume are villagers down south as well for CooL. If TaToH finds a way to hit that, that could be additional pickups. Now the fleets are looking essentially equal here on the northern side. Obviously, slightly stronger eco for TaToH to supplement this. TaToH takes a fight, slightly outnumbered, tries to micro his way out of this one, but still will be pushed back. He's going to have to retreat if he doesn't want to lose his entire fleet. Still tries to draw away the fire from those scout ships, but CooL is just fast to retask his combat vessels. Sinks quite a few. In the end, looks like TaToH is going to get out of that battle as the victor. And once again, CooL is going to have to regroup to try and save his fishing eco.
Yeah, things are really dicey here for CooL, but meanwhile, TaToH, I feel like he's just in a commanding position. Huge army once again, forcing the rewall. The slingers are on the outside, opens up the gate, but that means that TaToH might try to come in, but he's going to be forced to... Oh, and an overchop just happened. So many vills will die for this mistake. And those scout ships they showed on the coastline to defend against the Axemen and the Bowmen. Meanwhile, so many fishing boats go down too, Lidakor. This is starting to look really tricky for CooL to come back in. I say that, but the game's so close. CooL's actually already going with the bronze. What did I say? Oh, TaToH's going with the bronze.
Yeah, it's TaToH with the bronze. CooL's got slingers
my.
back at home. He can hold off those archers for the time being, but can he survive against Bronze Age? I do not know. He's winning on the water, but he's having less and less accessible wood right now, and there's still so many archers over here picking off the villagers. CooL is now down by 11, finally starts cleaning up these bowmen with the slingers, but casualties are just way too high, has to delete the storage pit to prevent the villagers from going into the archer fire, and now he's getting pushed back on the water.
Yeah, geez, TaToH got such good engagements on the water over and over again. Every time CooL has gone to that choke point, he's just gotten massacred by the micro and the focus fire. TaToH just playing so sharp right now. This is honestly very scary to watch. Like, TaToH looks impeccable on this map. This is scary. Oh boy. I do not want to play against this. This is hard. This is hard to beat, I think. As still more this position for CooL looked so good in the early game for the safety, but now that wood line Lidakor is just getting so tight and small, and there's not enough space, right?
Not at all. You see villagers getting caught by the scout ships. If they venture more inland, they'll be caught by the archers. Just nowhere to go really for CooL. And by the time he stabilizes, TaToH gets to Bronze Age, and CooL just taps out. What a game once again. Game number 2, very much back and forth again. Slow details make the mile here in a mirror matchup, and TaToH comes out victorious here in game number 2.
Holy. That felt dominant. I thought they entered into the Tool Age with like a very similar position, but it seemed like in every engagement, TaToH was just a little ahead. He was just a little favored. Like, look at the resources. Like, that's an advantage, but not so sizable that it's insurmountable. But especially because consider like that last 1,000 wood was really once the game was kind of over, right? He just kind of out microed, right? In every fight, there was a fight where on the water where it looked like CooL had one more ship even, and TaToH just was always the proactive player pulling the ship across the front, which is pulling the fire of the enemy ship and then causing them to lose DPS, meaning you could win the fight. And he just did that consistently. I mean, and look at the Vilhai. It's like basically the same. He just kind of outskilled CooL here quite a bit, which is scary for CooL going into game 2, especially when in game 1, or sorry, going into game 3. When in game 1, CooL looked so dominant there too with his defense. So interesting to see TaToH taking a lead on these hybrid maps when, I mean, Lidakor, look at the rest of the maps we have. Yeah, this game, blow for blow so far. Game 3, Lidakor, and look at that. We got the Mediterranean. We've been talking about this a bit in this tournament so far, but this kind of variance to how Medi can spawn in AoE 1. Medi has the opportunity to spawn rivers, but not always guaranteed. And an important detail to note is, does that river have a crossing? Because if it does or doesn't, it means that all the land aggression is going to be funneled through that north side. Yeah, look at that. No crossing, which means that this whole southern portion of the map is safe to retreat to. You can put more vills there, you can hide extra docks there and not be afraid of this land aggression. And yeah, if you can find these choke points on the north side, this map could become closed very quickly.
Indeed it can, and this could once again end up being a very long game given how narrow that choke point is between the players. If either of those players, especially TaToH, who's much closer to that choke point, walls that off, we could be in for a battle almost exclusively on the water.
Yeah, potentially. I actually expect that too. And look at CooL's opening. I think this is something we haven't seen players really do much. And this was a home map, so maybe this was a bit practice, but look at his berries. This is a no granary opening. This is very strong because your first 120 wood investment is flexible. It's giving you shorefish and wood. And I think this is a very important opening. This is something that you can do on some of these maps with shorefish and woodlines. CooL found that juicy opening, and he's going to have an advantage. His dock will be faster, or his barracks will be faster. That's just going to be an advantage he has. I'm likely expecting an earlier dock with this play. Maybe not. Could be something different, but we'll have to see how these players adapt. Yeah. So basically, as TaToH is looking at his opening, he's going to have to find a way to kind of come back from this like deficit, right? Because he doesn't even know it yet, but CooL just has a better opening. And here you can see the difference there. That dock already going down for CooL means he's going to have a villager lead pretty soon. Now, he did have to idle his TC slightly, so he's down 1 vil. Well, actually, it looks like he's down like half a vil with the timing, which isn't too bad, right? He'll make up for that, and you can see TaToH now finding his Swordfish and Storage Pit, which is good, but his dock is going to be much later, because now he has to wait to accrue that wood. So it's definitely, there's these little details where someone who's super experienced on AoE 1, and like TaToH has played a lot of AoE 1, and he's competed in a lot of tournaments, but he hasn't played in a DE tournament in like over a year, maybe 2 now. So he's kind of refreshing himself as he goes through this tournament, and you can see that's starting to really come online in last game. But CooL plays AoE 1 like every day, right? So he streams very frequently. He's always playing. So these little nuanced strategies, like the little details here and there, are going to be, I think, where CooL has to find his edge, because we saw in a very even position, TaToH just kind of outskilled CooL, right? And now looking at this game, I think CooL kind of needs to out-strategy TaToH to some degree, right? He needs to find those ways to get advantages that TaToH might not be expecting, might not appreciate, might not notice, right? That's going to, I think, be where CooL comes out ahead in this series going into Game 3 now. Oh boy. That's already, you can see that villager lead now for CooL. So he was down half a vil, now he's up a vil. So we'll see how it goes. And yeah, Tool Age is coming in. So the Stone Age is over for CooL. So even getting a faster, a much slower age up, but no, a much faster age up with this opening. You can see how it pans out, right? Sorry, the icons look reversed to me. To see Stone Age, yeah, sorry, it's weird.
Yeah, it's a very nice timing for sure. You see TaToH is going to be behind by about a minute or so. He also found himself the Shorefish though, so that's a decent start. And look at what we have on the northern side. TaToH already recognized that there's a narrow choke point to wall. He's going to get that done. There's a red dot getting close to it. TaToH also trying to sneak past these walls. Will be found out by CooL. And the lady is just going to try to club away the other lady. TaToH gets a sneaky villager in. I think on the northern side, CooL tried to do the same thing, but I'm not sure if that villager got through. No sign of that, but there was a red dot nearby. Might have been just the ruins, though, so TaToH will get the walls up. No villagers through for CooL. And look at TaToH, though. Quick walls coming in with the barracks will prevent the villager from bashing down the lady.
Wow, that's impressive. We didn't quite see the placement of it, but now CooL is just going to have to wall that in, it looks like is going to be his play. But does he know that it's open on the south, too? Like, this is an interesting barracks placement.
I would be surprised, like, given his movement. Uh-oh, Lady's going to have trouble against that Croc. Looks like she is going to live. But yeah, CooL has no idea about the opening to the south. Oh. Sees the clubman, though, and the barracks will be denied.
That's huge. That crocodile just kind of griefed CooL. Oh my gosh, that was such a clutch croc for TaToH. And that's going to give him opportunity to be aggressive now. He's got the villager in the base of CooL, unstoppable at this point. So something's going to happen, I think, because there's already a barracks to support that villager. So that could be a stable. And what we were talking about, oh, a range is so deadly here. You could range the wood line. You can't really wall it out. CooL's going to have to add some units back at home, but CooL, meanwhile, with the much faster age up, denying the ocean. Though, TaToH going to defend 2-on-2. He's going to have to use repairs.
And nice little micro from both sides. Problem for CooL here is that he's being distracted inside his base. TaToH can focus all his attention on the water, whereas for CooL, he really needs to be cautious about those axemen, those bowmen roaming his base.
Now Axeman is in, like you said, so that's really scary. TaToH also getting the wood upgrade really early, so that's going to give him more wood income, but also range on these bowmen, which could be really powerful, and range on the scout ship. So it's such a critical upgrade in on these water maps, and CooL, with this pressure in his base, hasn't been able to tech into that yet, so looks rough for him. He's going to have trouble dealing with the bowmen and the scout ships in very short order, because TaToH's coming.
Yeah, TaToH is coming, and you see villagers are once again confined into this area. If he loses the water battle, villagers will be picked off, and they have nowhere to go because you have axemen and bowmen coming from the other side. It is 5 scout ships against just 2. Villagers have to flee here for CooL. He's gonna have to leave this sanctuary, but that just means he's running straight into the bowman and the axeman. This is just looking so good for TaToH. This villager getting through, getting that quick wall done, and getting the barracks up is coming in so clutch.
What a disastrous opening for CooL. If he can find a way to come back from this, I would be so impressed. He's got equal Vill count because he was able to trade out a lot of TaToH's fishing boats early with his rush on the sea. But, I don't know, I feel like this Vill count is going to snowball fast in favor of TaToH, whose TC is untouched, and he has the opportunity now to win water. Oh boy, this looks rough for CooL.
CooL is going to have his fleet cleaned up. It's 13 army against just 5. Villager is now relocated. There's an archer range as well, but TaToH is just going to double down on the water now. He's got momentum. He already started adding fishing boats to this one. And if he gets that water control escalates with the eco, as you said, it's going to be very challenging for CooL to come back. Still, though, he's stabilizing back at home, so there's a glimpse of hope for him for sure.
Yeah, he's stabilizing a little bit, but GG gets called. I mean, you kind of have to. This was brutal. There was really very little opportunity here. TaToH was going to win the water. It wasn't really possible for CooL to come back there, and yeah, it's just that gator, man. That gator. I feel like that gator just won a game. CooL did not respect that gator when he was building his barracks. He went for kind of a wonky defense against it. I wonder if he should have just pulled Vills and walled behind, like further behind, closer up, and maybe it's more expensive, but it's more guaranteed in my book. And because he didn't, that Vill snuck through and got a lot of damage in. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Man. If TaToH's able to keep momentum going, this could get disastrous fast for CooL. But TaToH has... Ooh, double berry in his base and a pretty wallable map. If we could kind of like get a bigger picture of where they're going to maybe try and wall, if they were going to wall big. Like they've got kind of these forests around them. So there's sort of different ways to kind of build your barracks and your houses. Yeah, like this. You can see very easily where the players are going to try and wall. Especially with that gold mine as well helping TaToH. So his base looking very fresh. Meanwhile, CooL, let's check him out. He's got bigger gaps, a lot more expensive to fill. He's only got 4 forests, whereas TaToH has 5, giving him that wall-off area. So we'll see how CooL handles this. This might be a bit of a rush game for him anyways. When I played some practice games on this, I definitely felt that if you don't control the water in early Tool Age, you just fall behind fast. So maybe full walling isn't the best way to play. We did see CooL take a different approach, but he's cool, so he can get away with stuff. Not sure what he's going to take this time, though. He picked a different civ. Yamato, to me, tells me he wants to fight for this pond and use scouts, but I don't know. Maybe he's just going to fast bronze without the pond at all. Maybe both players ignore it. I don't know. Pond feels good, though.
It's going to be a fun one to look at, especially when you consider that these players, they have had some long games here for AoE 1 standards. Not just game number 1, but essentially all games that they have played. Well, maybe excluding the Medi one, but the first 2 games, for sure, they have been longer than usual. So on this map, with the wall ability, with the defendability, we could once again be in for a relatively long game.
Yeah, exactly. As we see the elephant coming in for TaToH. Not too much. We got the Stone Age. It's just so crazy, right? Like, this is what I've always loved about casting AoE 1 Lidakor, is that you have, like the game is so action-packed, and then you just get this hard reset to the Stone Age, you know? And it's like, okay, we can relax for, like, 3 minutes.
Yeah, honestly, it reminds me when I was casting Masters of Arena in AoE 2. And, well, we have Citadel in here as well. When you do that for a whole tournament, only casting Arena, you really start to appreciate those intense moments, because it's always like, okay, a lot of fighting and then 15-minute booming, and you just rinse and repeat.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like AoE 1 needs it. Like, the fact that the Stone Age doesn't have a ton of combat usually, I think is really important. Otherwise, it would just be too much. Oh my gosh, it would just take years off your life if you played it too much, right? It's just, like, so much stress. Because the game gets so stressful. Like, the second players hit Tool Age, you could just die. So it's very hard to play. Which is why I have so much respect for players who can play it so well, like these two, right? Like, they've just... I keep thinking about the Nomad game, honestly. Like, the meta game, like, I feel like CooL can kind of, like, ignore that, but the Nomad game, man, he had a good position. And TaToH just like... TaToH was a beast, man.
He was. TaToH was often a beast, for sure. This time around, he's gonna be the first one to go to Tool Age, and you could see for a brief moment that he already has a forward villager. This one will likely not be spotted by CooL as he's heading forward first. The second villager, they will just see each other. This is so critical of an information for both sides. TaToH actually... What is that idea? He's just trying to lure in the elephant from all the way out there. Unlike in AoE 4, the elephant is just aggroed on the unit that aggroed it, so it won't shift focus towards the red villager, but that's part of TaToH's game plan over here, luring in the elephants from the middle.
Yeah, I mean, you can lure these elephants really, really far in this game, so it makes a lot of sense. There's a bunch of elephants around the central pond on plateaus, so it's a really early focus to send a vill or two out early, and you can get a huge advantage for your rush, right? This is going to give TaToH just so much space to keep getting food. Now, the response to this is what CooL's doing, which is you attack the TC. It's usually very hard to protect your full town center. Usually you need little pockets of economy, and because he's lured it to the town center, it's going to be very easy to attack. Now, this is where TaToH might need to use the garrison mechanic or something similar to survive, but TaToH has the aggression first. Like you said, the faster age of Lidakor, pressuring the wall off of CooL.
This is big. This is very big. Walls are incomplete. TaToH's timing into Tool Age was a little swifter. He's going to have the Axeman in a little sooner as well. Clubman now coming in for CooL. Will miss the villager initially that sent out the wall, but should be able to get it cleaned up. And this could be problematic for CooL. His berries are near depleted. There's a Clubman threatening this. And look at that, quick walls now coming in here from CooL. Beautiful job. Will possibly trap that Axeman inside. Indeed, walls are complete just in time, and the villagers, they will just get rid of that Axeman. One villager might fall victim, though.
Maybe even a second, though, if CooL's not careful. Meanwhile, though, TaToH has his first scouts out. Looks like he's going to come back and try to pick off this painter. So that forward vill going to go down. She lived a good life. Got some good aggression in and set up this Axeman. And here we're really going to see the stats of the Axeman really shine. You just can't fight scouts into Axeman. They just will die like paper. And CooL, very critical. Getting that dock up. These fishing boats for Yamato going to be so clutch here. That extra 20% gather rate on Yamato fishing boats means that in this position, there's a lot for CooL to look forward to now. But his economy under so much pressure on the land.
Yeah, beautiful walls, by the way, by CooL, securing the lumberjacks, also creating that little pocket to the south, which essentially secures all the gazelles for him. Meanwhile, on the northern side, TaToH is forced to flee, has to respond to this Axeman aggression with an archer range back at home. Has to pop bowman because there are quite a few Axemen already flooding his eco. And behind this, as you said, CooL is also dropping a fishing eco, much needed fishing eco because he's down by 7 villagers right now.
This is tricky, and CooL has made, like you said, these 2 pockets, so very hard for only melee units to get damage in, but TaToH has added a range into the base of CooL, so there is opportunity now for him to do that. Meanwhile, TaToH microing against these Axemen, they're not getting too much value, but still, damage is damage, and CooL's gonna take it for now, because he has the pawn to grow his economy, right? But TaToH has so many more vills.
Yeah, Slinger is not being mixed in. Look at that, though. Back at home for CooL, he's trying to fight this off with archers. Scouts arriving for TaToH. Will pick off the archers, and this is where it gets dicey for CooL. He's about to lose his archers, and with the bowman out for TaToH, he can threaten those lumberjacks finally.
Yeah, that was maybe a bit early for CooL to pop out his bowman. He wasn't really respecting it, and now TaToH finds safety on the other side of the map. So on CooL's plateau is half of TaToH's economy. Meanwhile, TaToH holding his own base and still producing villagers. So 27 eco now to 22 for CooL. And that pond is going to have to start kicking in soon for TaToH, or for CooL. And wait, do I see that right? Did TaToH just dock the middle?
I think he did. I think he realized that there is fishing eco there. Scout ship is coming out for CooL, as TaToH is still threatening those lumberjacks. Indeed, TaToH is just now docking this. First scout ship will pop out just after this dock finishes. But the critical thing for TaToH is that he's got some presence over there. Now the scout will jump on the slingers, picking them off, and TaToH should be able to wall back at home, securing his initial eco.
Now, what's really critical here is that CooL has Yamato, right? So in a one-on-one scout ship war with the extra HP for ships, he will win that one-on-one. But if he doesn't spot the dock, TaToH could potentially get 2 or 3 scout ships out and then attack, which could be huge. Or the scout ship could take a bad fight against Bowman. But it seems that TaToH will just respect the scout ships and walk away.
Oh, look at that granary out there, just locking out the Axeman, confining those 2 villagers into a nice little position. TaToH, though, reaching the base of his opponent with a handful of archers. Not much back at home here for CooL, and he's yet to start adding his own scouts. This is scary for him. He needs to be cautious. If he gets his lumberjacks massacred by these archers, this is game over. He's outnumbered almost 2-1 inside his base.
Yeah, CooL's just been kind... Sorry?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, CooL's just been outnumbered here, and he now has that first scout, which was critical. It takes so many shots, but just not enough here to get the job done. But the HP is really low on TaToH's archers, so the next scout could potentially get some quick picks.
Yeah, the next scout could do a lot. Archers will be traded off against each other, but as the scouts pop out, TaToH is going to slowly start losing these bowmen. Could still find some value there. There are some villagers trapped to the south. They can't drop off the hunt, actually, because they don't have a storage pit accessible. If TaToH sees that, he can get some easy will picks. And to the east, we also have a scout moving in here, finding all those villagers. TaToH not adding a single scout ship just yet. He's not going to have any naval presence. But he's able to threaten these villagers very effectively. More and more chaotic of a game. Just crazy amount of focus from both of these players in all of these games. So much intensity, so much momentum for both players, actually.
Yeah, this pond in the middle going to be so clutch here. I really wonder if TaToH's going to be able to do it. He's got, I think, 3 scout ships in his dock. If he gets a 4th one out before it dies, this could be a turn, right? Okay, no, just a 3rd. Yeah, if he gets a 4th out, it could be a turnaround. Against Yamato, it's tricky. He just added another dock as well. CooL, not paying attention to the sea. So actually, I think this could start to look really good for TaToH. He's going to win the 2-on-3, even against Yamato, unless the micro is perfect for CooL, which it doesn't seem to be. Oh boy.
CooL is also distracted back at home. As he's focusing on those fights, he's going to start losing the water. And behind this, TaToH's got a much stronger economy. He's up by 4, and if he shuts down that fishing eco, that difference is just going to keep growing. Looking at the army numbers, it's relatively even, 13-11, but look at the KD. TaToH has been so much more effective this entire game, 28 kills to just 15 losses.
Yeah, CooL just couldn't afford to lose the water here, man. Like, he a lot of his strategy was around this, and he had the scout ship, and still TaToH able to build the presence on the water. Should not have happened, but it did, and nonetheless, and CooL with an important counterattack right now. Because TaToH's only up a couple of villagers, and that was a big neutralizer.
Huge find by CooL here, intercepting these villagers who were just stationed on the plateau of his. Now, essentially equals out the eco. Still, he lost the pawn in the middle, and TaToH's got presence inside his base. But this was definitely a thing that was almost a must-have for CooL in his position. Find some retaliation, but as we're talking about that, the archers of TaToH heading towards those berries. Can they see the villagers? They are going suspiciously the wrong way. I think they could have just jumped on those vills, get a couple of picks before the archers from CooL catch up.
Yeah, TaToH playing it safe, though. He doesn't want to just throw away army without really winning the game. I think he realizes he's in a comfortable position now that he's won the pond, and he's adding fishing boats now, and there's just no chance that he's going to lose the water, I think, at this stage. So, really comfortable for him. Oh, man. Oh, this looks so tough for CooL.
TaToH is up by 6 eco, and CooL has lost track of those archers. This is the scary detail for CooL. You see, TaToH, by having this house being shot by the archers, TaToH knows fully well where those are, and his archers were hidden from CooL up until they start shooting houses themselves.
Oh, man. And this Axeman getting a little value for TaToH as well, killing the scout. Oh, boy. And TaToH's completely short of his whole economy, Lidakor. Like, there's no pressure on his base. All that CooL has to work with now is in his own TC. Like, this is so risky now. If he loses a fight here, it could just be GG.
Enemy numbers favoring TaToH 21 to 15. It's a little deceiving because that includes the scout ships he has on the pond as well. But as you mentioned, he's safe back at home. He's also mixing in some scouts to this army. And CooL right now is just confined in his own base. If TaToH ever finds a way to just hit one of these smaller pockets, the berry villagers, the lumberjacks, that could be a disaster. And this is exactly what TaToH has been waiting for. Moves in on the villagers on the berries. Mispositioned is the army of CooL. And by the time he catches up, casualties will start mounting up high. 4 villagers caught in the crossfire, and TaToH will just disengage. He's doing this so well. He's not willing to take this fight until he knows he's got the majority. And if he doesn't, he will just loop around, hit the villagers, and then get out as fast as possible.
Oh, and just better micro here too. You can definitely see that like CooL is struggling here with the AoE2 pathing and the micro here. TaToH just feels so comfortable with these units, with the formations, without a stutter step, without a patrol properly, and every time they take an engagement, I just get the feeling that CooL is just lagging behind by half a second. His engagements are just a little bit less clean, and just isn't working for him here. Oh.
And now TaToH on the way to Bronze Age. That could be the end of the story here for CooL. If TaToH is allowed to go up, start mixing in cavalry, there is just no response to that from CooL. And he himself is pretty far away, down to 31 eco, deficit of 15 currently. And the bigger problem, TaToH is fully walled back at home. Even if he sees the Bronze Age coming in from TaToH, even if he decides to dive in that very moment, he doesn't have an opening to go through.
Yeah, there's no opportunity here. TaToH even managing to keep up like scout production while going up to bronze because his economy is so solid, which means he's gonna have a decent force to work with right at the start of Bronze Age. And if he supports that with 1 or 2 critical techs or just 2 or 3 cavalry, I think he could just wipe the floor with CooL's army here, who's I don't think close to Bronze Age, right? And come the scouts. Oh boy, it's so much pressure. The Farmvilles not able to work, which means the oh boy, oh, it's all crumbling. It is all crumbling.
And indeed, CooL just caused the GG. What a game once again by TaToH. Looked so nice for CooL for quite a while, especially with that pond, but then TaToH sneaks that dock up. And he was patient. He waited until he had the combat ship advantage, pops them out all at once, sinks the fishing geek off CooL, and then just was very precise, very delicate when it comes to looping around the base of CooL and always finding those 1 or 2 villager picks, slowly building up that eco lead.
Yeah, TaToH, that was scary, man. After game 2, now in game 4, I am scared of TaToH right now. He feels like a tournament winner to me right now. Like that felt very decisive this game, and CooL is so good at this game, or so good at AoE1, right? And obviously not every skill translates, right? And TaToH just showing that his capability to play both games at such a high level is really paying off here. And yeah, this is honestly just such a treat to watch, Lidakor. Such a treat. Do you think CooL can kind of bring this back? It's 3-1. He would need to win 3
in the grand finals. Let's see if CooL can steer this ship back to its original course. He has had some good games over here, so did TaToH. Let's see if CooL can prevail here in another Yamato versus Shang matchup. We will have TaToH playing as the blue Yamato on the left side of the map. Right side will be CooL as the Shang.
And you can see both players immediately skipping the berries, looking for that storage pit on the coastline with both shorefish and the wood line. And you can see TaToH has found one, and so has CooL. So that map consistency that we talked about, the RNG being less of a factor here, and it's more about your execution on the idea, is definitely going to be at play here. And that's where TaToH's just felt so strong, right? In the past, you could win on this map against a much stronger opponent if you got just a really crazy strong map. And here, looks quite even. Both players getting shorefish and a woodline.
Yeah, looking very even. Now, one of the things I'm noticing here is that for either of these players, if you want a wall, it's going to take a lot of effort. The front of their bases is wide open, and this could open up a lot of opportunities for aggression. We will see how players will approach this. We have seen, as we discussed in the previous series, both Shang and Yamato thinking about that early tool age scout supply. We'll see if that comes into play with how open this map is, unless you really commit a lot to walling.
I think an important distinction here, Lidakor, is that TaToH's actually down 2 villagers already. So that opening where he went for the storage pit, he just didn't like pull the trigger fast enough. He didn't get his vills working as quickly as CooL did. CooL seems like he didn't even drop villager production. So I think he's just about perfect with the timing here. Yeah, 12 at 3. Yeah, I mean, really solid stuff from him. I think he's down. I think both had a little idle, maybe. How does the math work? 3. Yeah, no, CooL's been perfect, which is amazing. No idle time on Conti when you scout for the storage pit is really impressive stuff. And we'll see the dock timings come up next. TaToH's obviously going to have more effective fishing boats, so if he can get even a slight lead or stay even in the fishing numbers early game, he should be in a good spot.
Indeed, so far so good, and not a lot of scouting, although it looks like we're going to have CooL move out to the villager. Might actually find TaToH's base rather swiftly. On the opposing side, TaToH finds a very juicy dock spot over here. A lot of shore fish nearby, a lot of deep fish nearby for the fishing ships. This is as good as it gets for initial dock spot.
Yeah, and even for AoE1, so if you're coming from AoE2 or AoE4, in those games, the fishing boat has a different gather rate for deep fish and shore fish. In AoE1, that distinction is not made. So just having fish around your dock is good, right? Your fishing boats should work the closest food first, and the deep fish is kind of like your later game stuff. So you actually want shore fish with your fishing boats over the deep fish, and TaToH just kind of got the best of both worlds, where he's going to have close fish for him, and then he's going to have far fish for later. And he can use the dock as drop-off, like you said, so lots of opportunity for tons of food here, so we should see a very aggressive tool age opening because both players can field so many units, and that's one of Conti's like strong suits as a map. That's why it's kind of it's one of the classic fan favorites of like the Voobly community, of the DE community, because on other land maps you can get these walled off situations more. In Conti, it's very hard to wall. And on top of that, you have tons of food, so you can really accelerate your early tool age aggression with tons of units. So as a player, it can feel super rewarding to play on. And so we should see pretty similar age ups here, right? A little bit faster for CooL, it looks like.
Yeah,
TaToH
had to idle his DC for that a little. So TaToH actually catches up on the villager count. He's just down by 1. TaToH also spotted the starting base of CooL, but part of the reason why CooL might have been a little slower to tool age than you would have potentially anticipated is because he already has a barracks up on the northern side. So does TaToH. He actually spotted the berries of his opponent. I love this barrack spot, Winston. He knows fully well that those barracks, or those berries rather, they will be such a critical source of food in that intermediate stage of the game. If he can shut them down with a barracks close by, it's great value. Having said that, it is the clubman coming in, and we have seen in the previous series that house, even though it looks like it's blocking off the coastline, there should be a tiny gap. Although there are some bigger gaps in between those houses and the forest as well. TaToH with the quick wall. It's still open, but not anymore. Beautiful quick walls by TaToH. And look at that, he even canceled the house for a brief moment, makes a bit more confined space for himself.
It's actually still open, so the clubman could have come in. I think CooL's just waiting for resources, or waiting for the upgrades before he commits to a huge wood line. Because if you walk into there, you're just asking to get trapped. We've seen that with the first clubman. If you walk into the wood line thinking you're going to do damage, you just get dunked. And so here we have TaToH with 2 dock blocks. So on either side of his wood line, he has the dock connecting with the houses, connecting to the forest. So now he is fully walled in. And he's able to focus his efforts on an attack where CooL hasn't been able to make safe with his wood line yet. So TaToH already, in my opinion, in a slightly better position. CooL not able to get the walls up. Several vills under pressure here already.
And look at the timings. Axeman now coming in as well for TaToH. He's having the armor upgrade coming in as well. Scout ships on the way. A lot of idle time forced here on CooL, whereas for CooL, his Axemen, they aren't really accomplishing much just yet. Nice quick walls by CooL on his Lumberjacks though. TaToH yet to find the kill. But he's shutting down the berries. And the thing is that if CooL wants to get through those houses, he's going to have to do so close to the shoreline where the scout ships will pick off the Axemen. So getting in isn't really a thing right now for CooL, and you wonder if there is an opening there. Axemen are suspiciously heading that way. TaToH is wondering the same thing, but in the end bumps into those houses. Axemen aggression from both players, neither of them getting a kill up until now, possibly. TaToH's gonna have to pull away that villager to secure the walls. Has an archer range back at home to deal with this. On the other side, looks like there is a range as well coming in for CooL.
Yeah, this, honestly, just watching this, can I just say that if you know AoE1 well, like, this is what Conti always looks like. So if you were concerned that, you know, Return of Rome would be, like, super foreign and it wouldn't look the same, right? Like, this is what AoE1 Continental looks like. Like, you get these walled and wood lines, you get the scout ships to defend against the rushes, and you have tons of food to support it, and then it transitions quickly into domination of the seas. Who can keep their fishing economy alive? And that's where TaToH already has a sizable lead on the military on the sea, but I think CooL's catching up with his production.
It's very tricky right now. Both sides aggressing the opponent's lumberjacks, but all they have to settle with is just taking down houses. TaToH moves out with 5 scout ships. You mentioned this before. He's got the numerical lead right now, but by the time he arrives, CooL is going to catch up. Although CooL is going to get housed for a little moment, given the fact that he just lost most of his houses. TaToH is also going to be housed when this house is destroyed. So both players will be struggling with population cap for a brief moment.
Now 5 on 4. Don't be fooled, though. TaToH in the blue pieces has Yamato, so more HP on these scout ships, so he can just sit here and fight, and he will win. Oh, wow. I don't think CooL realized just yet that he's at a disadvantage. Now he will. And TaToH gonna run him down and get maybe another kill. They're just barely missing the shot. Oh, Bay. Oh, boy. Oh, Bay. Oh, boy.
A bit of a micro here on the water. TaToH is the first one to threaten the fishing eco of the opponent. His own is still nice and secure. Range is now coming in for TaToH as well to try and deal with the Axemen. And you see, the map is just littered all across with all those houses, constantly getting burnt down by the Axemen and then rebuilt elsewhere. Just such a chaotic game here in the first few minutes.
Yeah, TaToH's actually being kept at a really low pop cap, and it's starting to matter. TaToH needs to build more units, and he can't right now. He's completely blocked. Look at his production queue, not getting anything out because he's housed so heavily. And VNS CooL slowly getting an advantage on the sea now because of that. TaToH just simply can't reinforce with this next wave, and so it's going to be kind of tricky.
Axemen still trying to bash their way through the walls, but now we have archers out there for CooL. He's got 18 army against 12. As you mentioned, TaToH really struggled to continue escalating that population because of getting housed. Now he's got to mark it up. Might need to balance his eco here, which he can do so at a very expensive price. Might also need to start considering farms at this point. I'm not sure how much food he's got left for his villagers. He's got some fishing boats, but I'm not sure if that by themselves will be enough.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's going to be enough. It's really tricky, though. CooL getting a good engagement on the sea on the right here, Lidakor. This is looking tricky for TaToH. This is looking tricky. He's down 3 vills. CooL has the bigger navy. He's got the bigger army. I'm not exactly sure how to call this one. He's got more of these archers out already, so these bowmen going to be chasing away the axemen of CooL. CooL has found the houses. Again, like you just said, right? These houses just keep going down, man. Is that an overchop? No, there's
possibly.
I think a little wall segment.
Now CooL is going to be the one that will struggle with the housing situation. You see he's losing houses. Now he's 56 out of 56 for the pop. But then again, TaToH will be pushed into his town center, those axemen still roaming the map, and just continue to burn down houses very casually, as if nothing happened.
It's funny how this game is really being about pop space right now. They can't get through the, it's about the sea and then pop space because they can't push through the stone walls where the economies are located. But that's short-lived because that first wood line for both players is starting to leave the safety of the shoreline. And pretty soon the bowman, like we can see now, CooL puts his bowman in position, and this is going to get dicey for TaToH, who has to idle everybody to run away. He needs to get army here now. He can no longer rely on the sea to protect him from this raid.
He's going to dispatch his own bowman to deal with this. He still has a pretty high amount of axemen. Could re-aggress the base of his opponent, but definitely he's the one suffering from this aggression. And you see, the effect can now be seen on his villager count. He's down to 33. That's what comes out of losing all that time when it comes to production because of being housed. Obviously, some picks happened as well where it comes to the archers doing damage. TaToH needs to find a way to do damage himself, but it's going to be challenging because he first needs to address this force inside his base, once again bashing down houses, and once again just denying him the ability to produce anything.
Yeah, I think the way that TaToH is going to find damage is because CooL has pumped a few of his dock cycles into fishing boats. And he's got 4 scout ships in queue, but there's a big engagement on the sea. And if TaToH could win this with the micro here, it could be huge. But he honestly just doesn't have the numbers, or does he? He has the micro and the numbers, it looks like. That distraction with the Axeman was clutch, and now he's going to try and pressure the economy on the sea, slow down this engagement, or slow down this boom that TaToH, or CooL has been trying.
I love this. The Axeman will help destroying the docks as well. As you said, they have been very effective drawing away the fire for quite a while, and if they ever get in, it's going to be very difficult to hold off this many Axemen. Docks slowly being burnt down to the ground over here. CooL still with a considerable eco lead. Also intercepting TaToH's archers in the middle. TaToH will take the high ground with the hill, but still, he's outnumbered here when the reinforcements arrive. Looks like CooL will disengage though. TaToH taking another fight on the water, might have to call his forces off now that the reinforcements arrive for CooL, and indeed he will. He's going to retreat, pulls off the Axeman as well.
Yeah, which just lets CooL re-wall behind that. CooL's starting to look really, really dominant here. He's got a 20 villager advantage. A 20 villager advantage. That's insane. A lot of that is realized in those fishing boats, but... So if he loses water, it could be tough, but look at that. His whole land economy is working at producing scout ships right now. Look at that. He's got 4 in queue and Bowman as well on top of it. It just feels like TaToH's not going to find a window here.
Yeah, it feels like his eco deficit is just way too big to overcome now. Trying to take an engagement. If he can take a good fight here, he could threaten those lumberjacks very well. He's got a lot of axemen to soak up the arrow fire with. He's going to exchange archers here, but he still has the numbers advantage. This could be good value for TaToH, much needed value. He's so down in economy that he needs to find damage ASAP. Reinforcements now coming out from 3 archer ranges on the water. TaToH's fleet is getting cleaned up, and I think CooL has what it takes to hold back at home, also pressuring the eco of TaToH. Winston, it really looks like we're going into game number 6 here with 2 points on the board for CooL.
Yeah, this was a really clutch game for him. I think winning on Conti is going to be such a morale boost. You can see why he picked that map. He has no problem playing the opponent's home map if it's a map that he's comfortable on. He's pressuring the wood line. He's dealing with this attack slowly, but I think he'll be able to clear it up. But more importantly, on the water, what can TaToH do? Look at that. Look at that queue. He's queuing up 6 more fishing boats behind this, so his economy is just going to really start to scale now, and we could be seeing a Bronze Age even in the near future for CooL. Meanwhile, TaToH, stuck in Tool forever. Half the Vil count, half the military. Is he even going to hold this on the water? Maybe, actually?
TaToH basically stopped producing villagers for quite a while. He will hold this on the water for the time being, but he might not have enough to deal with the second wave. Takes a really good engagement here. CooL has to call off his forces. But behind this one, on land, TaToH is just falling behind when it comes to the army numbers. His eco is very fragile compared to CooL. And it's just a matter of time until that eco really starts showing on the battlefield as well.
Yeah, looks like TaToH's going to try and hold out, try and get scrappy with it. But it seems tricky to see the way forward here as more and more bowmen stream forward for CooL. And we're not really seeing that scout switch, which is so desperately needed from TaToH. He just doesn't really have the economy to afford more stables. He needs to keep investing on the sea. And you can see that Yamato bonus going pretty far there. That military count looking good for TaToH now on the water, but on the land it is more than tragic. Oh boy. Toxicity for TaToH here as he just has no options. Like, CooL's just everywhere. It feels so rough. Like, look at this. His units are just trapped on production here. Nowhere to go. Oh, man. He's pushing back on the land, on the sea, though, a little bit. But I feel like, once again, into the waiting den of the next pump from CooL. He's got so many units. Actually...
Good value here, but it's coming a little too late. will take the fight, snipe many fishing ships, but he's still down by almost 30 eco. It's actually more than that. Tries everything he can, but now he's getting pushed back on the water. I feel like now we've gotten to the stage, Winston, where even if he does eco damage, it's gonna be too little too late, because CooL has just got so much more on board now with how strong his eco was the last few minutes compared to TaToH's.
Yeah, just look at CooL's minimap. He sees everything, and then you look at TaToH's minimap, and everything is blinking with one of CooL's units. It's really disastrous, and his woodline gets spotted again. His woodline in the south is spotted and under pressure from some bowmen. If he loses this naval fight, that woodline is under pressure as well. Oh my gosh, just everything's blinking, and he leads them right to the shared woodline. So CooL's gonna have military right here to deal with this.
Yeah, good little raid here by CooL. He's going to pick off a couple of villagers. Scout ships now arriving to the shoreline. TaToH's got a fleet to fight this off with. Numbers looking slightly better for TaToH. But this is the point where CooL could contemplate taking this fight. He's going to play cautiously though. He's going to retreat as he's going up to the Bronze Age. And when War Galley hits, it's a different story. TaToH won't be able to hold it off. It would be a miracle to see TaToH play onwards once he sees Bronze Age come in from CooL.
Yeah, this Bronze Age is just the GG Bronze, right? You gotta get out of this game, TaToH. Gotta think about how you're gonna approach the next one, because what even went wrong here for him? He just kind of got out macroed in the early game. Like, at some point, it just looked like CooL was able to squeeze out a few more fishing boats, and then that just propelled his economy into the mid-game. And TaToH kind of stagnated on that growth. Didn't see the opportunities to squeeze out fishing boats when there was a lull in the action on the sea. And CooL just played defense with his ships. Now using box formation, that's a fun one.
I feel like it has to be the fact that TaToH lost so many houses inside his base. He struggled with the villager production because there were always axemen and bowmen close to his TC. Whereas he tried to play around the base layout of his opponent, tried to find new angles. He never really managed to do that, but that also meant that he never shut down the TC of CooL. CooL takes a confident game number 5 over here. It was on his opponent's home map, but a map that he's very familiar with. Takes game number 5, and we have a really close set on our hands now. We will likely go to TaToH's home map, very likely Citadel, here in game number 6. But if CooL pulls that off, we have a decider game. So CooL definitely gaining some momentum over here going into game number 6.
Dude. I'm so excited for Citadels. I think this map has been one of the ones where it's just like the tempo, the pacing, and the unit rosters are just so different. The Civ choice has been so different as well. I mean, we've seen Hittite picked a lot on that map so far, so maybe it's just going to get picked up again. I don't really know. It seems like it could be in a really good spot if we see a Hittite mirror potentially. I don't know. We've seen it before in the previous set, but Citadels, man, what a map to go to next. What a game.
He's known for innovating strategy. He's known for bringing in things that weren't really seen before by others. He's going to choose the Chosun over here for Citadel. Winston, what's the mindset behind picking Chosun over here? You mentioned that they are lacking the chariots, which would be the natural predator for those Egyptian priests. So what's the plan here, picking Chosun then?
Oh, well, it's the post iron, right? So their post iron, well, not exactly the post iron, but their mid to post iron is just the best in the game, probably. The Legion spam is just so effective, especially when the pop limit is just 200. A lot of times we see 250 pop, which gives kind of more opportunity to other civs sometimes because they can build a really scary mass of ranged units where at that point it's no longer really about the huge flood, but still even then Chosen is really dominant because that's 100 more legions that they have space for. So important things to remember about the swordsman line, and that's why Chosen is so powerful. The Legion is such a crazy upgrade. The Legionary is super powerful. Chosen has a huge HP advantage towards that Legionary upgrade. Furthermore, their ballista towers have that additional range, so they can be really, really scary, really hard to attack and defend when you have so much space for it. And notably, CooL is playing Egyptian, which don't have access to good siege. So ballista towers in good spots means that TaToH's gonna have trouble pushing, CooL's gonna have trouble pushing in the late game if he doesn't have a really overwhelming mass of scythe chariots, right? Will be his likely choice to deal with mass towers, right? So if we get to that very decisive late game, that could definitely be the play, is Legionary and Tower versus Scythe and Ellie Archer, right? But in the Bronze Age, I think there's a few other options, right? You could definitely see cases for Cavalry versus Camel, maybe. You could see Chosen maybe trying some hoplite play if they wanted to, but I really think that TaToH's game plan here is to defend, to boom, and to hit a crazy ass timing in Iron Age. Meanwhile, for CooL, I would expect more of like a play where he's gonna go for maybe some timing push. We've seen the Hittite play where they've made a lot of chariot archers and tried to like leverage that into map control. So that's probably going to be the advantage that CooL needs to leverage if he wants to win this game, is try and take map control with the chariot archers, really push for that like early iron push, maybe like try and use priests, maybe even some stone throwers with Egyptian. You don't really want to invest too much, but one or two stone throwers to bop down those medium walls that you start with here on Citadel, and then move that in to some sort of timing with Scythe Chariot and try to like raid the chosen player to death before they can really solidify that push of legionaries that's gonna feel pretty unstoppable once it's on the field, right? CooL's options against Mass Legion are gonna be, I mean, maybe just try and match with Scythe and have enough Elephant Archers, but that feels so risky. Priests don't really work well against Broadsword line because, you know, it's just so cheap. It's 50 resources a pop. Like, losing 10 priests for 5 conversions just is not worth it when you're fighting against Broadsword. So this timing is going to have to be in the Bronze Age for CooL, whereas the timing for TaToH is going to be really that early to mid-iron and just punching CooL with these legions. So what do you think in Lidakor? We've got a double berry now for TaToH, so definitely aiming for this later game, this longer game. Not looking for like an early barracks play or anything. Very standard stuff on a map where you start walled. We've seen a lot of plays. We've seen a couple games so far where you just have, you know, a pretty standard 2 TC boom, 3 TC, add in the 4th and 5th as you can afford. So I'm expecting something similar here.
Yeah, I think the big thing is how much TaToH has learned playing that Citadel game yesterday. He played Hittites there, played into the Chariot Archer, into Horse Archer play, but he also went very heavy on the towers. He was really the first player on Citadel that really started doing this, okay, slow tower creep style approach. Now, as you said, this is something that Chosun can do very effectively in early Imperial, and we shouldn't underestimate the fact that he has seen most players play the Hittites here as well into that Horse Archer, Chariot Archer play. And as you said, Chosuns have really good towers, so that could be, to a certain extent, especially a late-game counterpick to it. I also love the dynamics of using up your stone on this map, because the big difference between the AoE 1 version of Arena, which we are playing right now, and AoE 2 is that here you have a very finite amount of gold and stone available, so you have to be much more considerate of your resources, and I think playing into that tower creep puts all those available resources to better use, especially with the stone being used up for something.
Yeah, there's really not a lot of stone. That's a really good point. Can we actually pan around Vodka and look at the amount of stone that, for example, TaToH has? Like, how many piles does he have? I don't actually know how much spawns on this map. Like, yeah, that's so small. Like, okay, so here he's got 5 and 4. So that's a lot of towers already. But yeah, to incorporate the ballista upgrade is really expensive on towers. It's 750 stone, I believe, if I recall correctly, to upgrade your towers to ballista towers. But that's already including another 50 and 100 something for to get to sentry tower, and another bit to go to guard, right? Another 100 to go to guard. So yeah, I mean, you don't have a lot of stone. I think an AoE 1 map would have more stone. So here, you have to be very judicious with your position of those ballista towers if we get to that point. But like we said before, Egyptian only having access to stone thrower means they don't really have the best tools at clearing out mass ballista towers. They don't have centurions, you know, they don't have like a huge thing. They're just gonna have to throw wave after wave after wave of scythe chariots into a meat grinder, which isn't gonna feel good. I mean, there's plenty of wood on this map, so if CooL gets to that position, it's going to feel like an infinite, never-ending wave of scythe chariots. So there's a chance he could overwhelm CooL, especially because CooL's playing a Civ without access to chariots. So lacking gold late game will put CooL very behind. So there's definitely a lot of different timings to pay attention to here. We're going to see a bronze timing from CooL probably, into an early iron timing from TaToH, into a late iron timing for TaToH, into a hyper late game would be an advantage for CooL. But I'm not sure we'll get to hyper late. I feel like we're really jumping the gun. But again, we're in kind of like this very slow paced opening. So it's fun to kind of explore those opportunities, especially when there's so many unknowns.
For sure. I mean, we're reaching the stage where the escalation suddenly becomes very rapid. Both players reaching the Bronze Age at essentially identical times. And now we will have the government centers coming in, additional town centers being popped. We do have some blue units out there for TaToH. Can we take a look at those? Likely just the 1 or 2 bowmen roaming the map for some scouting intel, but TaToH is definitely working towards, yeah, indeed, it's a bowman. And a couple of random artifacts right around that croc. Nothing too crazy.
Yeah, nothing too crazy indeed. And I just saw Magma, another expert AoE1 player in the chat, just mentioned that Egyptian might go for a mass compies here. They do get fully upgraded composite bowman in Bronze Age, so there's no reason not to predict that. We did see the compy play from, was it Kyo last night? It didn't quite work out, and that was with Minoan, but that was against Hittite, who have really good answers to compies. Whereas Chosen, not so many good answers against compies themselves. They could go ballistas, maybe. They could go towers. Their towers are going to be great against compies, so it's going to be hard for the compies to push. But the compy mass would give him just a wall of archers to defend against the Legion push, especially if he has some walls in front of it or some scythe. He might be okay. But looks like we're just going to enter big boom time.
Yeah, he also brought back some of the artifacts, which, well, for a conquest game mode, do absolutely nothing. I guess this is an interesting question to discuss, because obviously when Age of Empires 1 was developed back in 1998, the goal of the artifacts and the ruins was that you would play around the victory condition, but as the games developed, that wasn't really a thing anymore. Players are playing conquest. Was it ever considered to just rework the ruins or the artifacts, or what's the plan with them right now? If you're playing conquest, they're virtually useless.
So that's actually interesting. There were some thoughts around that, but ultimately no, because they are actually quite interesting scouting tools. The artifacts are really fun to play with as a player, right? They don't look as like they're not exciting as a spectator, but in a game where you don't have a scout, the artifact is a free scout, and like TaToH's not just collecting them; he's actually using them in the north of his base whenever he has spare APM. He's using them to kind of explore the map. They convert when an enemy unit is nearby, so it kind of gives you insight, like, oh, my artifact got captured. There's maybe a painter there or a barracks there or something. I know where they have information now, so there's a bunch of like these little detailed mind games where as you become very comfortable with the game, you realize the value of the artifacts. The ruins, I tend to agree. I think they're kind of like useless, but like if you're not going to really do much with the artifacts, like why not just keep the artifacts and ruins the same? Like it's no shame, no foul. And there are actually some tournaments on AoE1DE that were played standard, and we did see wonders. We did see artifact wins on certain maps like islands and stuff where people will transport the artifacts to their island. There's some really crazy plays in history for AoE1DE with that. We've seen some artifact wins where people put them in the corner and then just layer 70 layers of stonewall, and you just can't break through it in time, and they just keep buying time. So there's been some cool stuff throughout time, and we see those first units now for CooL. A chariot archer in the mix, but both players just booming. It's a boom game. So these iron timings, dude, I gotta say, Lidakor, I'm scared for CooL. I feel like in this situation, TaToH's Civ is just way better for the timing that we're going to be hitting here.
Yeah, I have to agree. He's got a couple of chariots out there, but nothing too threatening towards TaToH's eco. TaToH, on the other hand, he is slowly building up a nice eco lead. Now has 5 villagers. Nothing too crazy, but something still notable here. We'll have to see how his Iron Age timing looks like. Both of them currently playing on... Actually, never mind. TaToH is up to 6 town centers now. CooL is still playing on 4, according to the top right production bar. TaToH is now playing on 6, and you can start to see that. Look at that,
yeah, for sure.
town centers.
Yeah, adding in all those TCs, he wants that big boom to go forward. I think... Yeah, I think what could be interesting is like how TaToH opens up Iron Age. Is he going to make a ploy for map control with, you know, a lot of units or with a few units? Is he going to go horse archers to start? We definitely know what he's aiming for with Chosen, but like there's a couple different ways to get there. Looks like he's actually going for compies, so a bit of an odd choice in my opinion, but nothing too crazy. They'll do okay early game against these chariot archers, so maybe just wants to have a few ranged units to defend his walls in the meantime, so he's just not completely trapped in. You can see the gold and the stone are kind of being denied there on the front, so maybe just a couple compies to defend this. Makes a lot of sense here, as it looks like we're looking for the iron clicks in just a second for TaToH. Well, he's missing a building, I think. That's
Common
frustrating.
occurrence. Yeah,
But
he's also
click.
grabbing the stone mining upgrades as well alongside gold mining, so definitely will work towards that tower creep. Iron Age actually coming in a little faster here for CooL. Also goes for nobility. And for TaToH, I see some improved bowmen slowly being queued up. Obviously, as you said, he probably will go in that Long Swordsman Legion direction, or will he?
He should. I'd be surprised if he didn't. Meanwhile, it's pretty clear to me that CooL is going to be going for some chariot archers early, but definitely adding in Scythe. He's definitely aiming for Scythe. The nobility upgrade used to be a requirement to click Scythe chariot. That's no longer the case in this game, but like, I mean, you still want it if you're going Scythe. It's 15% HP. It's extremely strong. Chariots for CooL are going to have even more HP on top of that. So we're looking at some ranges going down, but maybe some more stables to follow, I would assume. I would assume it's just going to open hard into Scythe, the cold open, as we call it sometimes. And there you can see those watchtowers for Chosen. If you click on that again, look at the range there, Vodka. It's insane what that sub bonus does.
Iron Age coming in as well now for TaToH. He's gonna be quite a bit behind compared to his counterpart here. CooL almost up to Imperial himself, going heavy on the chariot archers. Whereas for TaToH's side, not a lot of army just yet. Still continues to pump out villagers to a point where he's got a lead of 26. Starts pushing up with the first couple of towers, secures that stone mine for himself, and now there come the barracks and of course the storage pit, but still heavy on the barracks. And here comes the longsword upgrade as well. How good are chariots gonna be against those initial longswords until, let's say, Legion comes in? Because once you have Legion in, it's a different story, but how big is still the window here for CooL?
It's closing fast. So chariots have very low damage. They have 4 damage. They have to use their mobility, but TaToH is already getting that first bronze armor upgrade. You can see that little bronze shield is getting. That's pierce armor on your infantry. Super powerful, right? So you basically need alchemy to cancel that out, which we see CooL has queued up. But then after that, it's just like it feels so insurmountable at times to deal with how much HP these guys have. Chosen obviously with a ton, and looks like it's going to be elephant archers as the opening for CooL versus swordsman here. Oh boy. Oh boy, this could get scary fast if you're in either player's shoes. Because if TaToH can't hit his timing, things could get dicey. But he's got big tower line already coming up, guard tower on the way.
Here come the broadswordsmen.
Ooh. Almost had that disaster where he opened it.
Yeah, that could have been a disaster indeed. Yesterday when he played against Kyo, he was given one of those. He got through, got in with the chariots, and that was essentially the game. He needs to be very careful with that, but look at this. Where did these guys come from? Just a huge mass of swordsmen appearing on the west side of this opening, and now they're just marching. Look at that formation. Chariots will try to slow them down. Elephant archers being mixed in. Kind of funny to see how the elephants are like half the size of those chariots, but we'll just ignore that detail for the time being. Chariots getting massacred by the broadswords.
Yeah, these broadswords, they're so cheap that TaToH just doesn't care. Oh, I thought that was a GG call. Oh my gosh. So in AoE 1, we typed 1 to call GG, and I didn't see the first comment, but I guess there was a pause or something. Oh, that's so funny. And now we see the guard towers coming in on the left. I don't know if TaToH's going to be able to afford the Ballista Tower upgrade, and we can see Scythe Chariot already, so we do see Elephant Archer being the unit of choice here for CooL. Scythe Chariot on the way behind it, and there's the response The Helepolis upgrade coming in for TaToH. It's such a clutch response here to Elephant and Scythe Chariot. A big weakness would be a mass of Helepolis as the ranged unit for CooL. They don't get all the upgrades, but they're still quite good. So it could become scary here. Especially with the amount of map control TaToH's kind of picking up here.
Yeah.
CooL needs to find a way to get rid of these towers before they get upgraded or too entrenched.
TaToH has gone very heavily on the siege department when he played with the Hittites on this map. That was with, of course, the catapults. Now he's going to play into the Helepolis. Secures the left side of the map. Now comes in with the towers as well. And will start bashing his way into the opponent's base rather swiftly over here. Scythe Chariot still some time away. And it looks like we will have some priests coming in here against those Chosun longswordsmen. But you mentioned this. The swordsmen are so cheap that even if you get a conversion but you lose your priest, it's a terrible trade.
But they're also, the priests are also really good at healing up those elephant archers. So there's a bunch of different elements here, and TaToH being a bit careless with the units here, getting some value in, getting some like pressure, which I think is important here. Gonna try and bust open the wall and just run his opponent's economy. That's gonna be the plan here for TaToH while he kind of masses a more powerful unit, still waiting for the Legion upgrade, right? We should, yeah, these are still longswords. You can visually tell when the unit becomes a Legion because there's a new color now. So this looks like Legion in AoE 1DE, but then they're gonna get this nice gold trimming when the Legion upgrade comes in, which is a nice way to visually distinguish the two units.
Look at the flood of swordsmen now for TaToH. They're so cheap. TaToH is essentially pop capped. 240 HP legionaries now in, and they are about to start flooding the eco. The elephants are so slow to catch up. It's going to be the pain to stop this. Look at TaToH. He's creeping up with the villagers as well. We'll be ready to drop some towers nearby as well. And the elephants, it will take so long for them to just clean up this mass of swordsmen. It's a never-ending flood from TaToH. Scythe Chariot's now in, but CooL has half of his eco shut down now.
Yeah, but I mean, both players are just popped, but like, that's the power of the Legions, right? Half population cost just means you just have more spaces to be. And if you don't have an efficient way of killing them, like, these elephant archers are okay, but they are not the best way to deal with them. Like, you don't have the most damage. You can see how long it takes them to kill them. Same with the Scythe. You have all the upgrades on the Scythe for Egyptian, so you have really good Scythe chariots, but you can just see how long it takes them to kill it. And I think CooL might be missing damage upgrades. Could we actually click on one of those Scythe chariots, please?
He's also missing
he's
defense
missing attack.
Chainmail is just now coming in for him.
He's missing 2 attack upgrades. Oh my gosh, no wonder he can't kill these legions. Oh my gosh, he's so far behind right now on some of these critical techs. And now he's going to need to kill these Helepolis, which are just going to shred the Scythe. Look at the damage come in.
Towers creeping up, Legion creeping up as well. Look at the eco of CooL just being overrun by the Legion. All the farming eco is now being shut down. And CooL, I mean, he's losing population very rapidly. He's just 150 out of 184. TaToH still pop cap. CooL has nowhere left to go. TaToH is just flooding his base with towers as well. Nowhere to go and nowhere to hide here for CooL, I feel.
Yeah, his pop, he was at 200 pop like 3 minutes ago. And now just TaToH has just so masterfully controlled this battlefield. So many units everywhere. The whole back of his base is gone. His pop space is gone. His stables are gone. Everything is gone. His units are gone. His vills are gone. His resources are gone. His techs are gone. Everything is gone, Lidakor. Everything is gone. Oh my gosh, TaToH's played this so well. It's kind of disgusting. But in a bit of a way, you kind of have to question this Egyptian choice. In some degree, I mean, Chosen and Hittite are just such strong late game powerhouses. And I think TaToH's just keyed into that really effectively here.
Absolutely. Now he's just flooding these swords, but you can see that his queues are stacked. Each barracks basically has 8 or 9 units queued up. They just keep coming. CooL is down to just 92 population. Just limited amount of standing army on the field. He's yet to deal with the Helepolis. He's yet to deal with these swordsmen, and TaToH keeps creeping up with those towers as well. 48 villagers only for CooL. All he has left is a couple of priests, a couple of chariots, maybe some elephant archers, but that's basically it. And he's yet to deal with some of the towers inside his eco even. He's just now queuing up some more priests, but this feels like a lost cause. And TaToH is just inches away from getting into the grand finals of Dawn of Ages.
Yeah, seriously, TaToH such masterful performance here. This has been scary to watch. Like, there have been a couple games where it's like looked a little shaky for TaToH, not gonna lie, especially the ones where CooL got the victory, but honestly, that Nomad game, I keep thinking about it. That Nomad game was like a perfect execution, and here, just like solid gameplay from TaToH. Just looks good. Just good planning. Good
CooL is
execution.
down to 13 vills. He's got no eco left. 9 vills. All he's got left is a big ball of elephant archers. He's down to 7 vills. Basically no economy. I mean, the big question right now, is he gonna tap out before he reaches 0 vills at this point?
Oh my gosh, it's so loud. Just the amount of death and chaos, and GG gets called, dude. GG gets called. CooL advances, or sorry, TaToH advances, knocking out CooL. Probably my favorite to win the tournament was CooL, but I mean, TaToH proved me wrong fast.
Just a crazy game by TaToH. 102 buildings destroyed, and CooL had 19 conversions. It didn't even appear to influence anything. Such a flood of swordsmen, and you mentioned this. Once you get to this mid-late Iron Age scenario with the Choson, it's very difficult for the Egyptians to stop. TaToH played this as he was supposed to, takes the victory, and with that, he's going to be the second grand finalist to face off against Saymyname. We have seen how good TaToH can be in AoE 1 even in the past. Shows that he lost no momentum, and he's still a force to be reckoned with here in AoE 1 as well.
Yeah, honestly, this has been very, very impressive, you know. I honestly just can't wait to see the finals. Oh my gosh, I don't even remember what even happened this morning. Who won the other set? I'm just so dumbstruck by TaToH, right? It's so hard to remember.